Okay, attempt number 3 because I forgot to turn on my audio thing twice. I even turned it on the second time and then turned it off for some reason. Alright, book review. David Gemmell, The Last Sword of Power, or just Last Sword of Power. It's a good book. I liked it. It's short, it's 308 pages, and I'll go into that in a second, but I got this book on the train. I was sitting on the train, and the guy across from me was like, "Hey, do you like fantasy?" And I was like, yeah, I like fantasy. And he was like, "Okay, cool. Here you go." I was like, "Really?" He's like, yeah, it's generic fantasy, but take it." I was like, "Okay," and I took it. There you go. Got a free book. So naturally, I had to read it. Now, David Gemmell was actually recommended to me, and I got this book for like €2. You can see this book is a little bit bigger, and this is part of a series. This is also part of a series. It's book 2 in a series, and so I guess we'll get into the review-ish part now. It's a book 2 of a 2-part series. However, it stands completely by itself. You would never know that there was a book before this, to be honest with you. So I'm interested to see what book 1 is. There's a couple characters in there that might be around it, but it's definitely not in this time period. It must be earlier. But it's a generic fantasy now. It's 311 pages, something like that, and it covers an entire fantasy story in those 311 pages. So it's written very to the point. It's written very concise. There's no fluff. But with that, a lot of stuff happens really fast, and you're kind of left wanting more. You know, like you lose a lot of the personal connections with the characters in order to get the story. And with that, I kind of wish it was longer. I wish it was a little bit more in depth. Some of the characters are really good. There's a few characters in there that I really liked, and I was like, I want to learn more about you. Like you're this like super hard badass like killing machine, and you like basically see this town get massacred, and after you go in afterwards, and there's this little girl, and you pick up the little girl, and you basically become her father. And it's like, and like that's the only time I think in the entire book you really get into somebody's head, and it was really interesting because like here's this guy who's like bred to kill, but then he has a kid, like because he finds her after the town's been like raised essentially. So like there's characters in here that I thought were really good that I really want to learn more about, but I did really enjoy how he wrote the book. Basically he takes real-time history and he adds in magic and he adds in gods and he adds in stuff like that. So this is set in like the Britain time with like Saxons and all that fun stuff. And so it's set in this, and it uses like real world, like it's not a made up world, it's like Earth. So they talk about Africa, and they talk about this, and they talk about that, but they added magic. There's like a couple of dudes in there that are gods, essentially. They go into how they're gods, which is actually really interesting as well. But they're basically just immoral dudes, or dudettes, and they survive through the ages, so they basically become gods. And so it's like one guy's he's Zeus, and he's this, and he's that, and he's this. It's kind of interesting. I liked it. I just wish it was bigger, because, I mean, as you can tell, this is 311 pages, this is bigger. David Gemmell, this is a bigger series. And I'm used to big epic fantasy, like I read like 600 pages of The Wheel of Time today, but you can see Wheel of Time versus this, and there's like 13, 14 of these. So Wheel of Time and this is even a small version. So my only thing about this book, the drawback, is that it's too short. It needs to be longer, it needs to be more in depth. Hopefully the other David Gemmell books I have will be more in depth. I think they will be. So that's it. I liked it. It's good for a free book. Can't really pass it up. I'll see you tomorrow.